Hey, greetings, everybody. I'm going to put myself on gallery view so I can see who's here. Oh, look at everyone who's here. Wonderful. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us here at Thank You Life for our Fireside Chat. I'm Laura Lacrane, and I'm the board chair of Thank You Life, and I have the honor of hosting these gatherings and introducing our guests. And tonight, I'm super excited for what's in store for all of us. Just to say a few things about Thank You Life. If you don't know, you might be here just for your first time. And just to say that Thank You Life is a nonprofit whose mission is to ensure that all people have access to psychedelic healing therapies, regardless of their financial circumstances. So we're committed to equity and access in this burgeoning field of psychedelic assisted therapy. And yeah, that's our mission and goal to ensure everyone has access. And we're very much in alignment with SoulStrides on that mission. So yeah, grateful to have that commonality as well. So yeah, I'm thanking all of you for your support. For those of you who have already supported Thank You Life, I'm looking around the room to see if I see familiar faces. I know we have a couple staff members here. I'd like to maybe you could just wave. We have Kevin Canella, who's our director and co-founder, and Ronnie, who's our amazing creative director and sort of the technological wizard behind these chats, and Meredith Thomas, our director of philanthropy. Hey, Meredith, thanks for being here. And I think I saw Ryder, director of partnerships, and just seeing if I have any other wonderful people who are part of our family. Well, you're all part of our family now, so welcome. Looks like Philip's here. Hi, Philip and Christine. Thank you for joining us tonight. Yeah, and my friend Eli, thanks for being here. So I like to begin because we're all coming from our big busy days, and here we are on this technology, and like to begin by leading us in a very short meditation to attune together and sort of drop into a resonance or feeling of gratitude, which is a core value, as you can imagine, of Thank You Life. And so, yeah, just take a moment, maybe close your eyes, or maybe you'd like to have just a soft gaze. And yeah, just begin by paying attention to your breath. Our breath is our wonderful friend who helps us come into the present moment. As we pay attention to our breath, maybe the rise and fall of our chest, or the feeling of the cool air entering our nostrils, we immediately notice our mind start to calm, our body start to calm. So yeah, just feeling that breath and taking a moment to just give thanks for the breath. This breath of life, couldn't live without it. Giving thanks and extending that gratitude to the air that we breathe, to the breeze, maybe giving gratitude, taking a moment to recognize all the beings of the air, the winged ones, the birds and butterflies, the airborne creatures, hummingbirds, insects, giving thanks. And then all the creatures of the earth that share in this sacred breath with us, giving thanks. Take a moment in honor of the theme of today, healing with horses. So I invite you to take a moment to just share in your own mind, just take in a sense memory of being with a horse. Maybe standing in the presence of one of these magnificent beings. So imagining for a moment, I think all of us, whether we have a relationship with horses, we've all had that experience of feeling the beautiful silky coat of a horse. Maybe imagine the breath or that soft whinny, bringing in the smells, that earthy smell of their coat or the barn or the pasture. Maybe if you've been a rider, to remember a time riding a horse, being carried by that powerful body. Just taking a moment to really give gratitude for these magnificent creatures. Their sensitivity, their intelligence, their power, and their amazing sort of perennial connection with humans. Maybe take a moment to look into one of those big brown eyes of a horse and just feeling that connection. Feeling their intelligence and giving thanks. Maybe a soft whisper of thank you to that being. Yeah, and in this space of gratitude, I invite you to open your eyes and look around this room in gratitude for all of the beings who have come here tonight. Maybe see if you can actually find someone's eyes to look into, giving thanks for being here. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So now I have the honor of welcoming our guests, these beautiful founders, Alison Hunter and Dr. Sara Herman of the SoulStrides nonprofit, an incredible organization that combines psychotherapy with equine therapy with ketamine assisted therapy, along with incredible group work and work in nature. We'll hear about it from them. And so let's see, we have Alison. Maybe if you have your, there you go. If you have your gallery view on still, you can see Alison there in the green. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist with a wealth of experience in psychotherapy. And she's also a master facilitator, Equus coach through a place called the Coel Institute, which is new to me, but I imagine amazing organization training people in equine therapy. And she has an incredible sort of client-focused approach that combines her understanding of horses and her understanding of the therapeutic context, and has brought these together as the heart of SoulStrides. Yeah. And then we have Dr. Sara Herman. I don't know if there you are. Hi, Sara. So she's a co-founder with Alison, and she's a medical doctor with an incredible journey from the operating room to psychedelic healing. She studied human biology at Stanford and cardiothoracic, did I get that right? Cardiothoracic anesthesiology at Harvard Medical School and Columbia University. And her personal mental health journey during a breast cancer treatment in 2017 really led her to focus on psychedelic healing. And she's proceeded to get lots of training through CIIS and MAPS and the Ketamine Training Center to bring that into her practice. And together they've created SoulStrides. And I'll let them tell you about it, but I'm super excited to hear about it. And as I said, they were also committed to equity and access. and are always looking to raise funds to allow all people to come into the training who need it. And yeah, thank you, Life. Just super grateful to have these incredible humans in our provider network and in our Thank You Life family, and so honored to have you here tonight. So thank you, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura, for the introduction. First, Alison and I, of course, want to express our gratitude to everyone who showed up this evening. Your presence really means so much. We also want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Thank You Life for hosting this fireside chat. I'm sure many of you have never thought that ketamine and horses go together in the way that we will talk about it. And so let me just share my screen here. Can we see the slides? We good?
You're good.
Awesome. So before we kind of dive into our discussion, I kind of like Laura wanted to share something that resonates deeply with the work that we do. And it's a poem called An Invitation to a Brave Space by Mickey Scappi Jones. And we found that this reading really captures the essence of what it means to create a space where we can all grow and learn and heal together. So, an invitation to a brave space. Together, we will create brave space because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world, we all carry scars, and we have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side. So as we hold this idea of creating a brave space in our minds and hearts, we invite each of you, if you feel like it, to share one word in the chat maybe that describes how you're feeling right now. And so this little simple act of sharing helps us begin to create our own brave space together this evening. I can't see the chat, I don't think. Oh, yes, I can. Love it. These are great words. Well, I guess I'll put one in here too. Yay. All right, awesome.
Wow.
So, Laura kind of gave a good intro to who we are. And Alison, I don't know if you have more you want to say about us.
No, I think Laura did a lovely job.
All right, cool. So I'm wondering if people are wondering how we met. So we're going to tell the story. A couple of years ago, I was trying to think of creative ways to get the word out about my ketamine therapy practice. And so I decided to send out about 2,500 postcards to every integrative medicine specialist, psychiatrist, therapist, and a bunch of other practitioners within a 30-mile radius of Menlo Park. And I thought, surely this will generate some interest. Well, as it turns out, I didn't get a single response, except 4 months later, I did get an email from a gynecological integrative nurse practitioner. And while that relationship didn't lead to the referrals I was hoping for, she did send out an email referring provider list. And as I was scanning the list, there was one name at the very end that caught my eye, and it had Equus Coaching next to it. And I was thinking, I've been an equestrian since I was 8, and I immediately was like, how can we get Equus Coaching connected to my practice? And so I reached out to Alison, and that's how it all started. And so that story kind of highlights how unexpected connections can lead to something truly special. So just like the journey that brought Alison and I together, our intention today is to take you on a journey to learn about SoulStrides. As we guide you through this experience, you'll have the opportunity to explore some of your own insights and reflections. And we encourage you to notice anything that comes up for you throughout our time together. There'll be time for questions and integration at the end, so feel free to engage fully and just let the journey unfold.
Awesome. So as Sara said, we want to give everybody an opportunity to have their own experience with horses. And so I really appreciate Laura just starting our time off together with the beautiful meditation and calling in the energy of the horses and really putting us in a space with them. So with that in mind, what I'd love is if everyone could just take another nice deep breath in and another nice deep breath out, and just continue to let your day just float away from yourself so you can feel yourself here in the present moment. We're going to invite you to enter into a herd of horses. And I want to just invite you to notice what comes up for you as you watch this herd of horses. Perhaps there are particular horses that you identify with. And if so, maybe get curious about why that is. What comes up as you watch the herd dynamics? And what about the roles that the horses take on? Just see what you notice as you watch this herd of horses. And Sara, when it stops, yeah, you can stop it at the end of that one. Amazing. Now, Ronnie, if you wouldn't mind making it so that we're all in gallery, what I'd love to do is just have people share, anyone who feels comfortable sharing as a group. What did you notice as you watched this video? What came up for you? Do we want to, Ronnie, what's the best way to let people, should they raise their hand and you can unmute them? Yep. Okay. So if you want to offer an observation, just go ahead and raise your hand and then Ronnie will unmute you. Okay, go ahead. I think you're unmuted.
Hi, this is Adam. Clearly there's like some social dynamics at play, some jockeying for position and communication and some displays of dominance within the group with the one horse with his ears back.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. That's a lovely observation. Right. Go ahead. Yeah.
I felt a protector energy from the black and white spotted one.
Mm-hmm. What do you mind sharing what you noticed that had you feeling that?
It kind of just felt like he or she was trying to be everywhere all at once.
Mm.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was paying attention to the ones that were moving around with each other, and then the ones kind of in the background that were still, and was wondering if the ones moving were gonna kind of evoke the other ones to also start moving and running around, and how that kind of herd mentality would happen, um, or not. So yeah, I was just kind of paying attention to that.
I love the curiosity there, how their relationships play out and how they impact one another. Yeah. Lovely. Anyone else? Did anyone identify with any particular horse that they were watching in the herd?
I saw someone with Nancy Baver raise the hand and wasn't seen.
Ah,
I'm Nancy. No, so Clay. I just thought of herd mentality, and there were demonstrated and not demonstrated relationships going on that are fascinating, with the stomping and the dust throwing and then the facing off. All those things. There's a real dynamic going on, and it's everyone together.
yeah. Yeah. I love that.
A herd.
And just how much is really being communicated between them without language. Right. Yeah. And that's so much of what we can learn from them, is the way that we show up, and that energy, like Ryder talked about, there's that protective energy and just the different types of physical communications that they have with one another. All right. We have time for one or two more if anybody else wants to share anything. I know there's one that Sara identifies with, but I don't want to throw her out there.
There are a few of them.
Yeah. Anybody else want to share?
Which one you identify with, maybe to make that clear, which horse you identify with.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Brad. Can we? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I also identified with the black and white one. In part maybe because he or she was moving the most, but what I noticed was also like he or she ran up to the brown one and sort of, I don't know, to give some sort of feedback to the brown one. Yeah. Brown one sort of reared up and was a little bigger and maybe told him to back off, received the message. Yeah. And then black and white one was like, okay, that's cool. And then he went back to doing his thing. So I got kind of a protective vibe from that horse as well. He was nice.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for sharing that. Super. All right. Well, as you can see, we can quickly go into, and welcome to the group, by the way. Now we have all kind of become a herd here. We're doing some work together. It's exciting. So this is kind of how it works, right? And this is group work in action. You guys are all doing it. So we're going to go back to the slideshow and share some more with you here about how SoulStrides works and how all of these pieces come together.
Okay. Let's see. Are we back?
Yep, you're back.
All right, cool. All right, so now they've kind of experienced a bit of what we like to do. Let's tie it back here to the big picture. So at SoulStrides, we like to call our mission our intention. And our intention is simple: to foster profound healing and personal growth through transformative retreats. Our goal is to guide people on a journey of self-discovery, building emotional resilience, and achieving holistic well-being. Everything that Alison and I do is really trying to align with this purpose and create a space where real transformation can happen.
Yeah. And then we talk about the 3 pillars of the SoulStrides journey. And those 3 pillars are ketamine assisted therapy, equine assisted therapy, and the group process. And we call our groups herds after a group of horses, like we just observed, because by the time a group leaves one of our retreat experiences, they've bonded, they've connected, and they've supported one another. And just like the horses do with each other out in the wild. So just an overview of the 3 pillars, and we're going to go into depth about each of those and how they work together to facilitate healing throughout our retreat process.
And the first one is ketamine assisted therapy. So we use intramuscular ketamine in a safe and supportive environment to help everyone dive deep into their inner selves. Ketamine allows people to really reflect on who they are, what matters most to them, and how they can live more authentically. This is the part of the SoulStrides journey where those powerful personal insights and realizations often happen. So to make this inner journey as safe and supportive as possible, we focus a lot on what is known as set and setting. Set is about your mindset, your thoughts, your feelings, tensions going into the experience. Setting is more about the environment, the space, the people, the overall atmosphere. So before each retreat, we have 2 introductory Zoom calls for folks to get to know one another in the herd and also help folks to feel more psychologically and physically prepared. We go over the ketamine experience, we discuss the roles of the horses in the group work, and we make sure that everyone feels ready for this transformation that awaits them. And kind of to give you a sense of the impact that this work can have, I want to share a little testimonial from someone who has done one of our retreats. And this is specifically speaking to the ketamine portion. The way I carry myself now after the ketamine treatment is different. And I've been able to let go of so many outside noises and chatter. I'm also seeing people in a different light in my life and have been able to set boundaries to live a more peaceful life and put myself first.
Yeah. Love that. So sometimes people wonder, and I just want to clarify, we are not working with horses and doing ketamine at the same time, and neither are the horses. So all of the exercises are facilitated on the ground, so there's no riding involved. No previous horse experience is necessary or needed. And oftentimes we have people say, well, I don't know that I want to do that because I don't really like horses, or I'm afraid of horses. And that's really quite all right as well. As Richard Schwartz, who's the creator of Internal Family Systems, would say, we welcome all of your parts, even the parts that don't like horses or might be afraid of them. So the way that the Equus portion of our day consists at a retreat is that each participant has an opportunity to engage one-on-one with a loose horse in the arena. And before they go into the arena, what I ask them to do is to set an intention for their time or to think about something that they might like some support with. So this is a potential opportunity to start integrating some of the material that came up during the ketamine portion of the retreat. And while each participant has their time in the arena, I offer coaching and therapeutic interventions along with the horses, who are my 4-legged co-facilitators. And the rest of the group is observing, holding space, and being really present for the session, and just even noticing what comes up for themselves as they watch the rest of their herd participate in their own work. So the beauty of it is that there's work happening both inside and outside of the arena. And Sara read a lovely testimonial about the ketamine portion. So a past participant from their Equus portion said that working with the horses helped me see how I was showing up and the narrative that I was playing in my head that was driving negative thinking and preventing me from really stepping into my true self. So how do horses do this? A little bit about horses. As we know, and we've talked about and seen, horses are herd animals and they're also prey animals. So as herd animals, they are very social beings. They depend on the herd, they depend on their relationships for safety. And they can provide a healthy model for us of what social interaction looks like. And then as prey animals, they depend on their ability to read the environment, to really be in tune with their environment, to respond to the energy. They respond to congruence and authenticity in those around them. So what that means is that if I go into a space with a horse, first of all, I become part of its herd. And second of all, they're always looking at us to say, really the question that they're sort of asking is, do you know yourself? And if I go in and I'm really nervous and scared and I say, I feel fine, very confident, the horse is going to read that that isn't true, that I'm not congruent in myself. It doesn't mean that I have to feel confident. It just means that I have to know that I don't feel confident. They're perfectly okay with us not being okay, which is a beautiful thing. We can just show up with all of our mess, and all they really ask of us is that we just have an awareness of what's happening inside of us. So they really help us to learn to be authentic and congruent with ourselves. Horses also attune to 4 different levels of relationships. The first is they tune into themselves. How am I doing? Then the next level is, how am I doing with one other member of my herd, right? In our video, we saw some of the horses sorting those individual relationships out and giving feedback individually. The third level of attunement is, how is the herd doing? What's my role in the herd? Is the lead horse best equipped for that in this moment in time? So they attune to everything that's happening within the herd. And then the fourth level is environmentally. What's happening in my environment that might impact my herd, that might impact my relationships, that might impact me, right? And as humans, we have the same structure and the same impact on us throughout the day. We may not always realize what's at play. So this is a really lovely thing that the horses can model for us. Additionally, as flight animals, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a minute, they're able to regulate their nervous systems very quickly. They can go into flight to get away from a threat, and then they can settle really quickly. So they really are able to only use as much energy as what is required. They also live in the present moment. As I said, they don't have narrative, they don't have language, they don't create stories like we do. And I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes the narrative and the stories that I have in my head is what really makes me crazy all day long. And so to be able to let go of that and have a model of just how to be with what is such a gift that they offer us and what they can model. All right, Sara, you want to go to the next slide here? So some of the benefits, I want to share a little bit of the science with you about how they have such a big impact on us when we're with them. A horse's resting heart rate is about 30 to 40 beats per minute. And just in comparison, for those of you who aren't doctors like Sara, for humans, our resting heart rate is about 60 to 80 beats per minute. So it's half. And they have what's called a coherent heart rate, which means, which I was just sharing, their systems can recover and adjust to stress very efficiently. They come back to their baseline, which makes sense when we think about needing to conserve energy as a flight animal. There's also research that's been done by the Heart Math Institute, which shows that hearts have magnetic fields. And the human heart puts out an energy field of about 10 feet. And horses have a magnetic field that's about 5 times that of humans. So what ends up happening when we're around them is that we start to co-regulate with their systems. Our systems settle, we become more present, we feel a sense of well-being and peace when we're near them. And as a result of this, we have many physiological benefits like lowered blood pressure and heart rate, increased endorphins, decreased stress, lower tension and anxiety, improved social functioning, increased feelings of empowerment, trust, and patience. That's a lot. It's surprising that therapists have a job with horses around. So because of all of these amazing benefits, we just see how being more in the present moment, being more regulated, the benefits of Equus coaching range from improved communication to developing leadership skills, stress reduction, building trust and confidence, encouraging problem solving and creativity, heightened sensory awareness. We use all of our senses when we're in a space with a horse. And being able to do all of this really helps to promote the personal growth and development as we go through these experiences together. And those are just some of the benefits.
Yeah, and I guess, Alison, we didn't really actually say the order of things that we do.
Yeah.
And so we have been kind of playing around with the order of ketamine first versus Equus first. Yep. And depending on the length of the retreat, we've had one multi-day retreat and a few single-day retreats. And in the multi-day, we had the opportunity to play with both versions, where there was ketamine therapy in the morning, followed by Equus therapy in the afternoon. And we've kind of stuck to, on single days, ketamine therapy in the morning and Equus in the afternoon. But we also found that during the multi-day, when we switched it and did Equus first, there was more ability for the group to bond and be vulnerable, even though there was no medicine to open people up and kind of lubricate things. So either way we do it seems to be really helpful. And part of that is at SoulStrides, community support is really a cornerstone. And we bring people together on similar journeys and create the space where everyone can share insights and offer empathy and grow together. And these connections really remind people that they're not alone in their healing. And so, as you've learned, our group process relies on the CAP and the equine assisted therapy to really integrate the deep insights. People are coming together to do this really, really vulnerable work, and witnessing each other and being witness really leads to deep learning and healing. And the shared experiences really build strong connections and bring about powerful insights in themselves. And so that's where this idea of the herd comes from, in that seeing as how we draw inspiration from horses and how they thrive in herds, we see our group as the herd too, where unity and safety and support naturally happen. And being part of this herd really helps everyone feel like they belong, and making it much easier to open up and explore these vulnerabilities and support each other on the healing journey. So again, we have another little quote here that talks about the group setting and subconsciously contributed to addressing the fears and anxieties of being an outsider. It allowed me to accept, process, and see the fears as universal to the human condition, thus being able to be myself in my everyday professional and personal life without the dread of interacting and speaking my mind. Just to go a little deeper into the benefits of group work, and we've found, and lots of retreats clearly do psychedelics in group setting because that feeling of connection is missing, and forming bonds that remind everyone that they're not alone is really important. So I often say that everyone is holding a mirror and we're reflecting parts of ourselves and others, and they do the same for us. And even though the stories might differ, the shared human experience really helps us connect and understand each other on a profound level. And clearly in this situation, what's more interesting is that the horses are mirrors too. They're reflecting emotions and energies back right at the person and offering insights that definitely surprise everyone. So you can think of each retreat as a disco ball. Mirrors are everywhere. Each reflection's kind of giving someone a new angle and a perspective on their journey. And so just think of this group disco ball dynamic as fostering accountability and learning and self-awareness, really helping people to realize they're not alone. And we want to keep emphasizing that. I keep saying it. And we're building also a long-term support network. So this herd continues to uplift and support folks long after the retreat. Lastly, kind of, after people have gone through either the multi-day or a full day, we continue to push folks. And as the deep connections and insights continue to come, a big part of psychedelic experiences and psychedelic assisted therapy that's frequently left or forgotten or not addressed is this process of integration, or really processing, making whole, understanding what has come up, and maybe offering insights and adjustments to daily living that may be small, but that will keep the journey with us and the insights that we've gleaned. And so we do is using nature. We're using mindfulness. We use creative expression. We have a couple of secret activities that we do that I don't want to ruin the surprise for, because there are some people that have not joined them and they might be on this talk. But it does involve art, involves journaling. These processes help ground us, they process emotions, and they really help us make sense of the experience that we just did in a holistic way. And clearly the horses are playing a key role too. They're teaching us really to slow down, tune in, and be present. So all three pillars, the ketamine assisted therapy, the equine assisted therapy, and the group process really come together by the end of the day or days to really help folks fully absorb and process what they've learned. And then we do have a video testimonial from a past participant who was so wonderful in giving us permission to share with all of you her experience. So this is Megan, and I'm going to scooch over to, hold on a second.
Together, magic happens. And that is exactly what happened at the SoulStrides retreat. For me personally, being able to journey together as a group was just not only so incredibly fun, but to recap and sit together in that circle and share these stories of our journeys brought such deep connection and so much learning for the entire group. Like the vulnerability, the laughs, the awakenings that were occurring at that rate that they were occurring, like seeing so many shifts and having them communicated so vulnerably and so frequently. I've yet to see at any other self-development gathering, and I've been to many. There are things that you explore on your own, thoughts and ideas that fly across your radar in our minds. But through a deep journey like this, there becomes a certainty. There becomes like a clarity that for me personally is going to help so much with my path forward. And then to be able to bring that to life in a ring with an energetic being. That's what horses are. That's what we learned on the retreat, how they respond to our energy. It brings a level of self-awareness that not in my I just never would have imagined how much I would learn about myself. And I learned that my energy could be a bit forward or a bit fearful or a bit scattered, and the horse is going to read all of that. And so like the awakenings I had in my journey in tandem with the level of self-awareness from my experience in the ring, which was an extremely vulnerable experience and very healing to do in the presence of other women, will create shifts that will not only change the course of my life, but these shifts will last forever and guide me confidently toward where I need to go in my life. So they will last forever and guide me confidently forward forever. Alison and Sara are such skilled, warm practitioners that create a safe environment for all of these deep, deep shifts and for all of this magic to happen.
And we like to say progress, not perfection. So give me a second. As I said, progress, not perfection.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Here he is. We're back.
I love it. Amazing. So I'm gonna shift gears and share a little bit about an upcoming project that Sara and I have in October, which is a group of warrior women. And this will be my 4th year working with the warrior women. And they're a group of mothers of mostly adult children with substance use disorder. And they have an online group where they follow a harm reduction philosophy and really practice, kind of loving them where they're at. The group is a resource center for the mothers, which offers them information about pathways for recovery and harm reduction. And their goal is to share and disperse helpful information and insights to and with one another as they're on this journey of supporting their loved ones who are struggling with substance use. I came into contact with them 4 years ago when a woman named Kathleen sent me an email out of the blue, and she said, "This is who I am. I have this group called the Warrior Women, and I host a retreat for them every year." She is the general manager of a big luxury dude ranch in Solvang. And she puts this retreat on for about 40 mothers each year. And she emailed me and she said, "I really want to do an equine portion to my retreat. I just think that would be so healing for the mothers." And she said, "I don't have anything to pay you, but would you be open to it?" And I said, "Absolutely. Just tell me when you want me to be there and I will create an experience for them." And so for the last 3 years, and again, this will be my 4th year, I've gone and we have a big group. It's 40 moms who are there. And this will be the first year that we're going to be offering the ketamine experience. So these ladies will be able to have a full SoulStrides experience. They'll do ketamine on the first day, and then they'll have 2 days of equine assisted coaching and therapy on the following 2 days. So it's a really special experience for me. It's something I look forward to every year, and I'm so excited to have Sara come along this year. Many people's lives have been touched by the trauma that substance use disorder can bring to them or their families or loved ones. And this retreat each year, it's just a resting place for them. It's a place where they feel connected, they feel supported. It's a place they can just be their true, authentic selves. They can laugh, they can cry. And it's really been an honor for me to be able to support them over the years. So this is a new special project that Sara and I have coming up. One of the events that we do every year for the warrior women is there are a number, I think last year we had about 10 of them who have lost children to substance use disorder. Their children have died through overdose. And so every year we do sort of it's a funeral, basically. It's a memory and it's a celebration of life with the horses. And it's such a powerful experience, and it's how the whole weekend kind of ends, and they come together to support one another and just witness each other in their grief. So I'm really excited to share some new healing opportunities for them through the ketamine assisted therapy. And it's one of the projects that we have coming up that we wanted to share. So Sara, is there anything else that you want to share about that piece? We did have our first meeting with them the other day. So Sara had an opportunity to meet some of them for the first time, which was really exciting.
It's exciting. And they're all so excited to add the ketamine therapy into this already impactful weekend for them. Yeah.
Very exciting. That's the bulk of what we have to share. This is our contact information is here. I do want to say that, it can often feel a little difficult to kind of really understand so much of this work. I think both with the ketamine experience, the group work, and with the Equus portion, because they really are experiential and embodied practices. And so it can be difficult to kind of wrap your mind around, what does this even look like? And we're not showing it today, but one of the things that I do have is some video clips of an equine assisted therapy session, which shows the phases. And I would be happy to, it's a little bit of a longer video. I would be happy to email it out or send it out to anybody who was curious and just wanted to get a better sense of what that looks like. So, I don't know, Ronnie, if there's a good way to gather emails. You can certainly email me or email Sara, and we'd be happy to share that with you so that you can have a sense of it. But I think we want to just take some time and open up for any questions. If folks have questions about anything that we've talked about today. So maybe, do we want to come back into a gallery mode so we can all kind of see each other and see what questions there might be? And I think we can do the same thing as we did before. Just raise your hand, and then Ronnie will do us the honor of unmuting you so you can check in.
I'll jump in. I have a million questions. I can't even decide which one to ask first, but I'm so curious about, first of all, amazing work. I'm not actually a horse person, really, and I've had very little experience with horses, but I can really see how effective it would be. So the one experience I had with equine therapy once, and it was on a big ranch in Montana, where the horses were, they would come into the barn every night, but they were like a real herd during the day. They had like hundreds of acres or run around, and they were like really like a herd. And when we came together with this equine therapist, I remember so clearly her saying, wow, like these horses are so sensitive. Like they were like more attuned somehow than the horses she was used to working with in, like, I don't know, a regular small pasture barn setting. I'm not sure. It was like, it was a real blessing for her to work with these kind of almost wild herd. Not quite. And so my question is, how do you find the horses to work with? And what is your method to, find, I mean, I know all horses are amazing, but I imagine this is a factor. Like, oh, this is a really wonderful place, this ranch in Solvang. You already know because they have lots of horses and whatever the circumstances are. But yeah, it seems like it would be important. And I'm wondering how you find the good venues, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's such a great question, Laura. And it's actually one of my most favorite things to do is to go and find different facilities and places that we can partner with. I think I speak for both Sara and for myself. Safety is our number one priority. And horses are big animals, they're 1,200 pounds, which that's, that's big. And so it is really important that we have horses that are safe for folks to work with. And so what I do is I will do some research and find different locations, and I'll go out and meet with the owners of the properties. And then I will work with the horses and get a feel for them and an understanding of them. But most of the places that we partner with are, like, we have a place in the Santa Cruz Mountains where we do some of our retreats, and they're a therapeutic riding and therapy environment. And so the horses, I already know going in there that they're beautifully trained. They spend their day with kids and with other, with people. The horses down at the ranch that we work with, same thing. They spend their day, they have a job. They actually really enjoy this because often these horses are out on trail rides all day. So it's fun, the work that we do has a playful element to it. And the horses really get to engage in a different way with the humans. As I said, none of it is under saddle. We're not riding with them. We're really developing like an eye-to-eye, side-by-side relationship. So the short answer is I go out, I work with the horses, I make sure to vet them and so to speak, and make sure that they're safe for folks to come out and have a really lovely time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I'm looking to try and contextualize equine therapy amidst all the other different methodologies or modalities that we have in our toolbox now. So just how you identify like people who are prime candidates for this beyond that. I mean, I've had, just a few select experiences with horses, so I can, I believe that it could be great for everyone, but like how do you have any way of kind of prioritizing who the best candidates are? And I mean, I have no idea if there's any kind of research on equine therapy at all, but just looking to kind of get oriented within, the broader field of, therapy and healing work.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Sara, do you want me to speak to that?
Well, I was just going to say the limiting factor usually ends up being the ketamine part, not the horse part. And so the first screen is, are they a suitable candidate for ketamine therapy? And then, Alison, you can speak to the horse, but it's usually the ketamine that's going to cut them, not the other way.
Yeah, and I would say it's, the medical side gets covered first. Are they appropriate for the ketamine therapy? Another big part is, are they appropriate for group work, right? And then I think to answer your question in terms of if you're just looking at equine therapy by itself as a modality, it's really a phenomenal modality for, I would say, just about anybody, honestly. I've worked with couples, I've worked with executives, I've worked with kids, I've worked with people who have severe trauma, anxiety, depression, really across the gamut. And again, I think this is the piece where it's hard to really kind of feel and understand how unbelievably therapeutic just spending time in the presence of a horse can be. But really, for anybody, I mean, I've done demonstrations for folks where the minute they step into the ring, literally nothing has happened. And just standing there next to this being with all this wisdom, people just start crying. And we haven't even said anything, you know, but there's a release there, and there's just something that happens in the presence of a horse. And so I would really say that spending time in the presence of horses can be incredibly healing and beneficial for just about anybody. Yeah.
Very cool.
Alison, I'd love to just speak to that a tiny bit too. I don't have a ton of experience with equine therapy, but as a psychotherapist, just something to add is I think of a lot of experiential modalities, whether it's something like sensory motor or EMDR, IFS, and equine therapy would certainly fall in that bucket, where a lot of the ideas to really move trauma through the nervous system. And it's really helpful. All these modalities are really helpful for what I might call like maladies of the nervous system, which is a lot of like the anxiety, depression, PTSD sort of buckets. And so any of these modalities that are helping us address what's locked up in the nervous system, I imagine would be, good kind of things for something like equine therapy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Kevin. I appreciate that, you putting that in there. Yeah. And I think there's also the addition with the equine therapy and with the retreats that we offer, as Sara shared, you know, being out in nature and just getting outside of our everyday spaces and really connecting. You know, we are part of nature. We don't always see ourselves that way. You know, sometimes we see ourselves as operating above the world. And so to really be in it with other humans and other beings is very powerful. Yeah.
I'll jump in if no one else wants to. I also have a million questions, and just thank you so much. I'll say on a personal note, horses were a big part of my life. Just interesting, the interaction. You were saying, you know, horses don't have a language, but immediately I thought of their ears and how they move, like talking all the time with their ears,
right,
and their tails. Not to mention the snorts and the other sounds that they make. But my burning question is, I did wonder that same thing, or horses train kind of like a more emotional support dogs like that. But really and maybe another question would be, horses have personalities, people have personalities, and how, I guess, do you select certain horses for certain people?
Yeah, that's such an interesting question, right? And I don't select certain horses for certain people, but you know what ends up happening, Meredith, is that exactly the right horse ends up in the ring with exactly the right person. I mean, there really truly is this element of just like, wow, how did that happen? You know, people who have connections, like a woman who just found out she's pregnant and she finds herself in a ring with a horse that's pregnant. You know, I mean, things like that. It's uncanny how it happens. But people get exactly what they need out of those moments. So we don't intentionally select them. Sometimes if we have done a multi-day experience and there's a horse that somebody wants to, work with again, at that point we'll say, yeah, great, you can choose. If there's one that really resonates for you, we'll bring that one in for you. But more often than not, it just happens the way it happens.
And I'm sorry, pardon me, I just had one more question for Sara. And if you could speak as a doctor who does this work, does the ketamine therapy, what have you noticed about incorporating the equine therapy? I just wonder if you could talk a little bit more about why you're doing this project and what you've seen.
Sure. So, when you're working one-on-one with a client in an office, of course, we try to offer as much time for processing in the moment, but that is limited by the fact that there are only so many hours in a day, and there's, no one's going to want to sit in an office to really go through the processing and such necessarily. And so the ketamine is ketamine and ketamine, and no matter where you give it, you're still going to get the same effects of the ketamine as a medicine. But the group work, first of all, is really important. And with less medicine, you get, in my opinion, more, or I've seen more insights because of that mirror ball effect. And even if maybe your ketamine portion wasn't so whatever, you're resonating and reflecting off of everyone else in the group. And the horses, the ketamine portion itself, and even the group work with the ketamine is very much internally reflected frequently. And so the process of talking about it and debriefing and discussing with other members there is helpful. But then when you then take it to the next step and have this horse, which is really a non-judgmental being that gives you information back in a more open state that the ketamine is allowing you to have, you get more of a relational aspect that you don't get with a group of humans. And yes, there's still humans sitting there watching the whole experience unfold, but because the horse really doesn't care, it's a horse and it's going to read your energy and it's going to give you feedback. But I mean, I was just shocked to see at the first retreat. And again, Alison said it's a loose horse. I like to call it a naked horse in a ring. And by the end of it, we had one person who, there's no lead, there's no nothing. And the horse was following the person around the ring just by changing their energy and changing their intention and changing the way they were thinking. And the results and the feedback is so immediate and very neutral. And so they could see a shift happening in real time. And it's something to see. And again, like, it's hard to understand unless you have experienced the work yourself or have been to a retreat. Sorry, I have light in my eyes here. It really is the degree of transformation in real time is quite amazing and unbelievable. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I have another question, but I want to make sure give some space for anybody else. If you have that question, please step in. All right, I'll just go then. It's about how people find you and come to you, like through what channels. Obviously, this Women Warrior Project is just golden for you. It's such a good fit, and it's a group that's already established. But otherwise, how do people find you? Do they come through equine sort of channels or ketamine mental health need channels or both? And how does that work? And how maybe can we support you as Thank You Life in channeling people to your work?
Yeah. I guess I would say they come through, all the ways. I have folks who come through my private practice. Sara has clients who come. We have, many people who know that we've started to do this work together and are starting to kind of just share the experience and share the word. We just built a website, which is really exciting. So we're hoping, that people will check out our website and find us there. So we're kind of in the process of building and getting the word out about what we're doing and partnering with different facilities, different organizations like yourself. So, we always appreciate anyone spreading the word about what we're doing and sharing it with folks that you think would benefit from joining us. Absolutely. Yeah. Sara, what would you add?
I would just add that there is an extensive screening process because, like you said, safety is most important to us. And so just being mindful of letting folks know that it might not be oh yeah, do it, because you're going to definitely be able to do it. There, we really want to make sure that folks are safe to participate in the ketamine and the group work. And we really like everyone to have a therapist that they're seeing outside of us who they can continue the process of integrating with, even though we will have, the virtual integration together once or twice, but it's not something that's consistent. So we want people to have a network that they can drop into already. So sometimes that can be a limiting factor as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for the Women Warrior retreat, do I understand correctly that you're actually looking to find some funding for that retreat to help some of these women join, or for that retreat, is that already taken care of?
Yeah, we are. We're definitely looking for some funding. Not all of the women can afford to participate, and so any funding would be super helpful because you can imagine the cost that's there in terms of having the horses and the space and Dr. Sara's time, and so yes, that is something that we're looking for some support with.
But I noticed Ronnie already put something in the chat for a link to.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thanks, Ronnie.
There must be some other questions out there.
I'll share just a little bit just to clarify around the funding piece, since I'm the director of philanthropy. And so just to clarify of all of this, they're seeking to raise $10,000 to support women going through this protocol. That's what we're seeking right now.
And I'll just piggyback on that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sara and Alison, we're just so excited to do this partnership with y'all. And for us, it's the first time that we get an opportunity to work with the horses and really bring that piece in, and also to work with this particular population. And something that feels really important to me is that really any population that feels like they need this work can get access to this work. So every time there's a new opportunity with a new population that we've haven't worked with yet, it just feels really important to me and also special to me. So thank you guys for this opportunity to partner with y'all. And we really look forward to how it is all able to play out this fall.
Thank you, Kevin.
Questions? I have another one. I'm curious about the group, the warrior group, the women warrior group, and you're having to do your intake, a new kind of medical intake with those folks for safety reasons and so on. And also, I would imagine there'd be people who really want to be there but are terrified about the ketamine, and it's just they're opting out. And I'm just wondering, is that true, or is it? You mentioned how excited they were, and I'm like, really? Wow! Did they know what they're getting themselves into?
Well, but by the time we got to the Zoom, we had already kind of invited the whole group to see who might be interested, and we had already done the medical, like quick screen to determine are they medically safe. The group portion and the horse portion they are familiar with, and they are already well known to one another. So that part was no big deal. And the support network that they already have and outside therapy, that was taken care of. So then it became more of who was interested and what was the medical
appropriateness.
Yes, and there were definitely a couple that we had to say they were not medically appropriate, and they understood, and they were happy actually that there was someone who cared enough about them to say no. And then the folks that we had left were very excited of the ones that wanted to do it and that were medically appropriate.
So I don't want to get too technical with people who maybe not interested in this level, but I am very curious about the dosing and how you would dose with a brand new group of people. And what I understand is usually with like a private client, you'd sort of gradually build up to a good psychedelic dose.
Yeah. And truthfully, that's a good question. And so because most of these folks have never had ketamine, my goal will not be to shoot them to the moon. We want them more to be able to use the ketamine as a tool to really connect on a deeper level with themselves and the group. And so what I've found is actually less is more. And in group experiences, these people already know each other. They've known each other for years. And so they don't need more medicine to get to a place where they're going to be able to connect in this deeper way. And so I'm trying to decide whether we will give 2 or 3 small injections. And because really, Alison and I both work with internal family systems and parts work. So I find that when the lower doses, it allows different parts of us to come to the conversation, and you still have the benefits of the ketamine in terms of, turning that negative thought loop off and increasing neuroplastic effects for changes that will happen 24 to 72 to days to years, whatever later. And so the dosing is going to be a lower dose so that hopefully everyone will incorporate one another into their own journeys. And that happened when on our multi-day retreat, where, the first day, maybe they weren't as inclusive in intraketamine, but once everyone started to get to know each other a little better by the second and third day, everyone was incorporating everyone else into their ketamine journeys. These women already know one another. And so my thought is that they're already going to be joining together on that ketamine portion, wherever that is, together. And I'm super excited to see where they go.
Yeah. It was amazing to see, though, over the course of just 2 days, a group of women come together who didn't know each other. None of them knew each other. And to see what Sara is talking about, by the second day, they were journeying together, literally in their journeys. It was amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm tracking the time here and see we have at the maximum 10 more minutes. So I want to take a pause and see if there's any burning questions before we close together. Someone must have another question or comment. Maybe just a comment, an insight, or look at all those thank you life people with their beautiful Beautiful dragonfly behind them. Okay,
I'm intrigued by the horse acting almost as a live, real-time, living, breathing biofeedback
yeah.
partner. I wasn't necessarily thinking about it, I have a dog, and I have most of my experiences with animals have been with dogs, and they certainly reflect energy in a way. I've been around 3 horses just for a weekend, and it was special. And it was kind of an ego inflation where the one horse that never talks or comes over with any people was like hanging out with me the whole time, and it's like, okay, cool. But that was like peak yogi phase. So I'm just noticing, like, in hindsight, that was just like a really special moment for me. And I did feel calm at that point in my life. So the horses were just really relaxed. And I haven't had any experiences beyond that. So I wasn't really putting much weight into it. But it sounds like that's kind of a cornerstone of what y'all do, like allowing that biofeedback experience to happen. I just wanted to make that comment, how cool I think that is. I come from a background working in neuro, and to be able to, show somebody in real time what their nervous system is doing is a huge aha moment, and creates a sort of awareness that they'll have for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So if there's anything else you'd like to share, any stories about any of those experiences you've seen, I would love to hear anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right what you're sharing, and it's just such a good example of, and it's to the point that Sara was discussing earlier, the ability with the ketamine, that's this inward journey. And then there's this opportunity to really, I love to talk with my clients about just do an experiment, see what happens, and if you hate it, you don't have to do it anymore. You can do something else. And we get to do that with the horses, is these little experiments based on the feedback that we get from them in the moment. And we can make these sometimes subtle and sometimes really big shifts. And it's really amazing to then get the feedback and have that's just that experiential learning, right? That Kevin was talking about. Is super, super powerful. I can tell you, I'll share a quick story about a session that I did with the horses with one of the warrior women. And she came into the ring, and she just was she was talking to me, and the horse was giving her space because, I mean, what I interpreted, and it's just my interpretation, is that he could just feel that she needed some time to herself. And she was talking about just how hard it's been. She lost her adult child. So she was really in her grief, and just all the things she's navigating and how tired she is. And as she's turned around talking to me about this, and in the background, the horse just lies down and lies down in the pen as she's telling me how tired she is.
Wow.
And she just hasn't been able to give herself time to rest. And so I said, I want you to just turn around, and I want you to see what's happening behind you. And she turned around and saw this horse just lying flat out. And I said, what do you think he's trying to tell you?
Wow.
And she just said, I need to rest. And she just let it go. She was finally able to just let it go and feel the tears and let the tears be there and just see what this amazing horse was modeling, just to rest. So that's an example of just the things you can't even predict that something like that's going to happen. And the magic happens. It's just incredible.
Wow. Oof. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Can I jump in with one last little question? When Ronnie, when you said that about your dog, my first thought was like, oh, like dogs, I guess are more predator than prey animals. And I guess maybe they're pack. I don't know if that's different than a herd. But yeah, it just got me thinking about, how most of the animals that we think of as pets are more prey animals like cats and dogs. I'm curious if, there's like a difference. Yeah. And I guess the way I'm thinking about it is like, I imagine on some level, just because it's an animal, they're just more like attuned to kind of present moment energies because they're not in their minds about work or rent or whatever humans might be in their minds about. So yeah, I don't know. Can you speak to that? And is there a difference with like prey versus predator animals and that kind of thing?
Yeah, there is. And our dogs and the animals that we have at home, they absolutely read our energy and are sensitive to what's happening. But as you're both noting, dogs are predators, and we don't like to think about ourselves this way, but we're predators, right? And so when we come into a space with a horse, one of the things that I'll share with participants is that you want to take your sunglasses off because horses read your eyes, and and I think this is some of the difference between a predator and a prey animal is that the prey animals, the herd animals, are so attuned to the energy. They know what's happening like miles away. And so even just looking at them in the eye versus having a lowered gaze impacts the way that they're going to engage with us. So the level of sensitivity is just, it's really high. And so they just respond a little bit differently than our dogs might. And the fact that they, are 1,200-pound animals, that activates us coming into their space in a much different way than we're activated with, like my Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. So our systems get activated in a very different way with a horse than we do with a dog. So it requires a lot more of us being present and noticing the changes within our own nervous systems.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin, that's really interesting. I'm tracking the time and we're getting close to close. So I wanted to just thank you and ask if there's any last words that you'd like to share before we close together.
Just thank you guys so much for showing up. I know we've lost half of our crew now, but half our herd, but really a big thanks to Thank You Life for hosting us, and to Laura and to Alison for being an amazing co-herd lead bear. This whole experience has been way more than I could have ever expected when that email came out. I saw the Equus coach on it.
Yeah, it really has been amazing. Yeah. And thank you guys for all your hard work. I just so appreciate and so much gratitude for everything that you do to make all of this accessible to folks. It's just incredible. So thank you.
Thank
I also
you.
just want to shout out to Meredith, who has been holding these every month, and none of these would be happening without her. So thank you so much, Meredith, for all the tracking that you do with this. All the invites and the lists and making sure that everybody comes. So thank you so much, Meredith.
Yeah, and Meredith, we've got to get everybody from Thank You Life out to come and do a retreat with us. So let's plan that.
Yes.
I think all of us, even the ones who dropped off early, I have no doubt everyone's super inspired by your work and sending you lots of blessings for the future of your organization and all the people who are going to benefit. So grateful, so inspired. And thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone else for joining us. And please continue to support their work and our work if you can. And we look forward to seeing you next month at the fireside. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Yay.